Welcome back to Nature League. I'm recording this episode in July 2020. So first off, I just want to send my best wishes to you and your loved ones as we navigate what is turning out to be a really difficult year. And it's not just difficult for humans. The other species on Earth are all experiencing the same threats they were experiencing before COVID-19. Things like climate change and habitat destruction and fragmentation. And while, yes, I said other species, so that was your cue. Your life is just fine. The only climate change happening is when you're sitting in the window versus right here. All right, well, anyways, our species and other species are experiencing challenges right now. And while I do like to speak about those challenges here on Nature League, and trust me, we will tackle that content, more on that at the end, I wanted to actually take this episode to explore something a little bit unrelated and a little bit lighter. The idea for this episode came to me when I was talking to a friend about nurse sharks. Like you do. She was asking me why they were called nurse sharks, and I realized that I actually had no idea. I did not know. I had some guesses, but I wasn't actually sure. So I looked it up and found an incredible history and backstory that went along with it. And that made me want to explore some more species and exactly how they came to have their English common names with words that seem to have nothing to do with them. Is this your best plan? Is this your best plan? Well, nothing like quarantine and filming at your home headquarters to really remind you of the sweet things in life. All right, Jane, let's tell them. Let's tell them about it. Number 10, nurse shark. All right, so we're going to start with our number 10, which is where this entire idea started. Hey, Brit, why are they called nurse sharks? Well, when I hear the word nurse, I typically go one of two ways. Either I think of the healthcare professional, or I think of the action that an infant mammal might use to get milk. You know, suckling or nursing. But after looking into this, I found it to be way more complicated than I had expected. While some sources claim that the word nurse does actually refer to the sucking sound that the nurse shark makes while it tries to get food from the bottom of the ocean, and other sources even claim that it has something to do with their disposition or caring nature, the true reason for the name might be something entirely unrelated. Apparently, hundreds of years ago, the word nuss, N-U-S-S-E, was used to describe large fish, so sharks. Jane, so help me God. Okay, there's fine. The word appeared in a 1440 English-Latin dictionary, which, first of all, what even is that? Sounds amazing. But secondly, makes me think that we are definitely looking at something much older. Basically, what it seems like is that over time, the language evolved. And as English explorers were in the waters outside of Florida and throughout the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico, they called them nurses because it reminded them of those other sharks that they knew from back home. So instead of having to do with the actual definition of the English word nurse, so either a profession or a person or even a verb, likely what happened is that someone somewhere hundreds of years ago was like, hey, look over there, it's a nurse shark. And everybody's like, cool, nurse shark, got it, sounds good. No, nuss, like nuss, they're like, yep, heard just straight. Nurse shark, got it. Or something. I don't know, I wasn't there. But it is totally wild that this probably was just because of language changing over time and someone mishearing something. Number 9, the monitor lizard. In English, the word monitor means to look over, or someone who looks over something. In the case of monitor lizards, some sources suggest that they have this name because of the behavior they exhibit when they stand up on their back legs, almost like they're trying to look around and monitor the situation. Think meerkats, for example. But other sources point to an older, even more specific type of monitoring. According to legend, ancient Egyptians would look at the behaviors of monitor lizards along the Nile River to tell them whether or not there was a crocodile nearby. Basically, the thinking goes, if the Nile monitor lizard is chilling, basking in the sun, things are probably fine. There's not really a threat nearby. Alternatively, if the monitor is looking scared, stressed, running away even, then likely there is danger, or, in this case, a crocodile. Monitor lizards are in the genus Varanus, and some linguistic sources think that it's possible that word is actually derived from an Arabic word, warl or varl. The W's and V's sounds can change over time and depending on the source. Either way, they think that that word meant monitor. But whether it meant monitor as in looking or monitor as in that lizard over there, I'm not totally sure. So if any of you watching speak Arabic or know someone that does, I would love to hear if they know anything about what the Arabic word is for monitor, as in watch, and what the word is for the monitor lizard. Let me know in the comments. Number 8, Rosemary Plant. Okay, so this might just be me. Totally possible, but I always thought that the word rosemary, like the herb or the spice or the plant, right, was a combination of two names, Rose and Mary. Like something Catholic going on, I don't know. Hey, here's some pretty names, what if we put them together? There we are. But for as much as I like Latin, I absolutely should have known better, because if you look at the word rosemary, you can actually split it up into two pieces and trace those pieces back to Latin. The scientific Latin name of the rosemary plant is Rosmarinus, which if you split it apart is ros, meaning dew, and marinus, meaning marine, as in dew of the sea or marine dew. So rosemary is just a kind of shortened and, pushed together one word version of Rosmarinus, rosemary. Great, sounds good. Again, language is truly incredible. Parsley, sage, marine moisture, and thyme. No, that's just bad. That is very bad. Probably best to stick to rosemary. Number 7, the Monarch Butterfly. Okay, so obviously the Monarch Butterfly got named Monarch because it looks so ding-dang royal, right? Regal AF. Or something to do with kings, queens, monarchy, perhaps. Well, the answer is close to this, but it actually has to do potentially with a very specific monarch. Monarch butterflies are found in North America, and like so many species here, this name was given to them more as a renaming from when the Europeans that were coming over here were seeing these species for the first time. Though, spoiler alert, tons of humans knew about these species way before this. This is just the name that has stuck, at least within English. Legend has it that early Europeans were so taken aback by this beautiful orange coloration that they decided to name it after their well-liked monarch, Prince William, and soon to be king, of Orange. Orange being a location. It was a place, and a place that is currently now somewhere around the south of France. I also found some mention of them getting this name because their coloration and markings reminded the people viewing them of a crown, so a monarch. Whether it's this or it actually is based on Prince William of Orange, I'm not really sure, and I'm sure there are plenty to argue either way, depending on which source you look at. But what I can say is that the monarch butterflies are absolutely stunning, and with all their incredible adaptations and physical beauty, it is absolutely no wonder they were given such a regal name. Number 6, the Paradoxical Frog. Paradoxical in English means seemingly absurd or self-contradictory. Certainly, if we learn a little bit more about this frog, we can figure out what exactly is so paradoxical about it. Well, it will not take much research for you to immediately find what is so incredible about this species. It has to do with their tadpole form. When you think of a tadpole, you probably think of a little baby frog, right? Like, that's what a tadpole is. It's a baby frog. But in this species, the tadpoles are actually significantly bigger than the adults, going completely in the reverse direction. Not only that, but these tadpoles will actually develop some adult body forms and features before they metamorphose or turn into their adult frog form. The massive size of these tadpoles doesn't happen because they mature super quickly. It seems to happen because they actually stay in that tadpole phase much longer. And when I say massive, I do mean massive. I mean, we are talking about tadpoles that are close to 9 inches or 23 centimeters long, which if you saw that, there's no way you would just be like, yeah, totally, that's a baby frog. No way. And a lot of that length is actually the tail. So of course, once that tail goes away, as that tadpole changes into the adult form, the length itself gets smaller because it loses that tail. Pretty incredible. Number 5, Puddingwife Wrasse. Right. So, where to even begin with this one? I certainly had to look up what a pudding wife is because I definitely didn't know. And it seems like there's a good reason for that. It's an old, not currently used English phrase or word that pretty much means a woman who sells sausage. So, again, I'm really struggling to figure out how a wrasse got this name. Wrasses are a type of fish, so not really a woman, and they definitely don't sell sausage, at least, because the pig markets are typically pretty dry and not that profitable this time. I don't even know. Truly, I just don't know. I don't know. Why are they called this? And it turns out that, I don't even really know what it turns out that because I couldn't really find that much of an explanation, like anywhere. I did get close with this actual word though, and I'm going to offer you my best guess. TM. One possibility is something from another language. In Portuguese, this fish was referred to as the Pudiano Verde, and so maybe the Puddingwife something, maybe it was close enough that someone overheard it in a different language and then that word kind of got adopted and then used. It's possible, though probably not super likely. Alternatively, and maybe a bit more likely, is the word pudding wife itself having a meaning other than a woman who sells sausage. And in fact, I found writing from a play in the 1600s that makes it seem like the word pudding wife could at times be interchanged with the word fishwife, so a woman selling fish. So if that's the case, then it's possible that pudding wife could have actually meant fishwife, as in like, here we have these fish being sold and this is the name of people selling the fish. And in an entry I found in a Middle English dictionary, it looks like a fishwife was actually given as an alternative form of pudding wife. So maybe we're onto something here. Perhaps this species of wrasse was sold and sold pretty commonly, and so the people who sold them were called fishwives, i.e. pudding wives, so, Puddingwife Wrasse, like fish seller fish. Look, it's as close as I could get. I am definitely not sure. Number 4, Queen of the Andes. Queen of the Andes plants are a rare and endangered type of bromeliad, which is a type of flowering plant. These particular ones are found way up high in the Andes Mountains, so the whole of the Andes part definitely makes sense. Now to figure out the queen part. Another colonial reference or throwback to a monarch? Perhaps, but it could also be something else. So I took a look. Queen of the Andes plants can have stalks that are up to 30 feet or 10 meters high. And in fact, they are the tallest bromeliad species in the entire world. Also, they live at altitudes of up to 12,000 feet or 4,000 meters high. And they don't tend to reproduce until they're at least 80 years old. Talk about your late bloomers. My best guess is that the queen bit of this name has to do with this towering height and the fact that these species literally might rule over, in a physical sense, the other species around them. I mean, they are just massive and totally stunning. Queen or not, these plants are spectacular in their own right, and I'm super happy I looked up the name just so I could learn more about them, because I totally didn't know about them before. Number 3, the pleasing fungus beetle. Oh man, so much to unpack here. Okay, so is it a beetle that pleases fungus? Is it a fungus that pleases beetle? Is it a fungus beetle that's just really pleasing? And if so, I don't even know what a fungus beetle is, so like maybe I need to start there. I don't know. So much to unpack. Apparently, fungus beetles are totally a thing. So likely the pleasing fungus beetle was a pleasing version of one of these fungus beetles, or something. Fungus beetles are a broad group of beetles that are found in dark, damp places that feed primarily on, you guessed it, fungus. So now to figure out the pleasing part. It was humans that named these guys, so my first guess is that the pleasing had to do something with aesthetically pleasing or beautiful. After all, for people to name a crawling thing pleasing, it probably had to elicit some sort of, ooh, pretty reaction. I'm guessing. I looked into it and this appears to be the case. When people who were naming these originally saw them, they thought they were so beautiful because of their striking coloration and markings. And they are of a larger size, so they were really easy to study and definitely jumped out at the researchers who saw them. Whether or not that rises to the occasion of pleasing versus convenient, I certainly can't say, but I'll let you be the judge of whether they are pleasing to you, as I show a graphic of them right here somewhere. Honestly, beetles are really awesome, and there are so many of them on Earth. So hey, why not name an entire group pleasing fungus beetles? Yes. Number 2, the Hellbender Salamander. First off, what a name. It is completely epic sounding. You know, when I hear the word hellbender, I wonder if it's like, oh, I am hell-bent on doing something, which is an English phrase meaning absolutely obsessed with doing. And in that case, I'm wondering exactly what it is that these salamanders are so obsessed with doing. I certainly don't know. Another place that my mind goes is a bender of hell. Like, these salamanders are so cool and badass that they can bend hell itself. Or something. Again, I don't know. This is just where my head goes when I hear the word hellbender and salamander together in a sentence. All of the sources I've found seem to point to the hellbender salamander being hell-bent on returning to hell from where it came. Yeah. People aren't totally into the general look or brand of these guys, and I guess I can kind of understand it, though I don't feel that way myself. Granted, they are amphibians, so they're already really different looking than us, and the Hellbender Salamander is the biggest amphibian in North America, so not only is it kind of unfamiliar, but it's also kind of big. Big as in they can grow up to like 20 inches or 50 centimeters long, which is very big for an amphibian, at least here in North America. And while I wasn't able to find a definitive source for the history of the name or the naming of the Hellbender Salamander, most of the things I found seem to point to a likely connection to it looking or resembling something from hell. In fact, case in point, the other nicknames I found for it include Devil Dog, Mud Devil, Mud Dog, Allegheny Alligator, Grampus, and what will soon become my new band name, Snot Otter. So yeah, just judging on the nicknames, this amphibian is clearly not for everyone, though I am a huge fan, and I think this species is totally remarkable. In fact, it's delightful, just not as delightful as the name Snot Otter. Number 1. Dik-Dik. Yep, that's right. Had to end it on everyone's favorite joke from primary school. Nothing like going back to the times when jokes were simple, like saying a species name, Dik-Dik, that happens to sound eerily similar to male genitalia. Ah yes, to be young, to be free, and to not actually know why it's called the Dik-Dik at all. So, totally had to look this up. Dik-Dik is not an English phrase, and I was actually under the assumption that the word was from a language that was found in the regions where this small antelope was found, namely Southern Africa and Eastern Africa. But the actual story is so much cooler. Apparently the name comes from, get this, the sound the species makes. That's right, it is an onomatopoeia. I imagined explosion and lights going off. Maybe confetti? Let's try it again. Onomatopoeia. Oh, that's nice. Because of their small size, they are prey for a lot of African predators. So because of being a prey species, they have a lot of adaptations for making it out alive. And one of those adaptations has to do with a whistling kind of a sound they make, both to alert others or potentially to even harass potential predators. Now, the noise originally was described as kind of a zik sound, which then moved over to a dik sound. And yet, it still can definitely be heard if you listen closely. Right, so that was the sound, and then over time, language did as language does, and it changed, leaving us with a common name of Dik-Dik. You're welcome, middle schoolers. Thanks for joining me on this little journey through these seemingly usual words, yet totally incredible species and word origins. If you're in the mood for something a bit more serious in tone, but still all about the amazingness of biodiversity and our connection to it here on Earth, then you should definitely check out this new project I have going in collaboration with IPBES. That's the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform for Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services. The project is a podcast, and I have the absolute pleasure of getting to co-host it with Rob Spall, who's the head of communications for IPBES. And if you're thinking IPBES sounds a little bit familiar, it might be because either you've read about them on your own, or you remember that episode we did here about a year ago in 2019, all about their global assessment. The first episode just came out, so if you want to check it out, and I highly recommend that you do, go and find Nature Insight, Speed Dating with the Future, on any of the platforms where you typically get your podcasts. On the podcast, we are interviewing unique voices who are situated at the interface of policy, values, biodiversity, and everything in between. To learn more, you can check out the description below, and thanks for watching. Come here. You're allowed to be on the table, but you have to be lying down.